All right, here's the roll call. Alex Isdicki.
Here.
Andrew Sussman.
Here.
Craig Radow.
Here.
Eric Previn.
No.
He's excused.
Ida McKay.
Here.
John Friteau, present. Keish Fallenberg.
He's excused.
Lisa Karajan.
Here.
Patrice Berlin.
Here.
Patrick Lewis.
Yep.
Richard Welsh.
Here.
Richard Niederberg.
Here.
Rita B. Nope.
He's sick.
Robert Schiller.
He is China. He's excused.
I didn't know if being in China.
He's excused.
Claire.
I am here.
And Denise.
I'm here.
All right. That's 12 people present.
We have a quorum.
7
There you go. Did anybody look at the minutes from the last meeting? I put some in front of you, and I know they were emailed to you.
Yeah.
If there are no issues, we will pass that they are approved.
All right. So hands up. So back.
Yeah.
All right.
Nobody had anything bad to say, so we're working on it, going on it.
Great.
Let's see. Wow, turnout was awesome. We tried to invite everybody who's been involved in the neighborhood council because this is our 15th anniversary month.
Yay!
Dunn gave us a little certificate. So, and I've got pins for the crowd from Dunn. And there's cake and ice cream. I don't think this is going to be a long meeting because the major motions on the agenda are back.
Yeah, but the vice chair's here.
Okay, and the vice chair will speak.
And nobody goes home until the ice cream and the pizza's all done.
Oh my God.
Nice try, Richard.
Stuff your pockets. Okay, thank you all for joining us tonight, and let's go to public comment. I don't have any public
Oh,
comments.
don't play that game.
No, it's like, I've got...
It's 2-3, isn't it?
Oh, I put my comment card where Rita
Oh, okay.
usually sits.
Well, I've got Barry Johnson, and
I
I've got
clicked the
Lori.
box and I also said everything's from 2 to 18.
Oh, you got some. I have some, I am sorry.
Okay.
I'm not canceling out. Here, you want to, I'll have you in charge.
All right.
All right, this must be his. Okay, you have a comment? Comment.
Of course I have a comment. First off, I'd like to offer a round of applause for Jeff Carter coming by tonight. One-time member of both bylaws and the board. Not once, but at least twice.
Well, for punishment.
And Jessica just showed up, so that's good for us. Where to start? I sent out an email about the hepatitis problem, and I was roundly patted in my head and told we had nothing to worry about. It's now a statewide emergency. May last 3 years, and the state is going through hepatitis vaccine so fast the feds can't supply it, so now they're going to go buy it on the open market. Yay us, we got plenty of money. Well, the best part is they're going around vaccinating people. Where are they vaccinating? The homeless. Great. Vagrants, whatever you want to call them. Personally, vagrants works for me. But don't just get a shot and you're done. You have to get another one within a certain number of weeks, or it's pointless. And the efficacy of the vaccine after you've been infected is doubtful. So following up with the bum community, making sure they get the second shot on time is going to be great fun. That also ignores the other large unvaccinated population that we have to deal with, which of course is our, what's the correct word for them? Undocumented residents, there you go. Don't vaccinate, they handle a lot of our food, and hepatitis A and hepatitis B are both foodborne. So every time you go to the restaurant or you buy prepackaged food or whatever, yay us, we're at risk of that too. So just like to see that our ongoing public policies, everybody says is so wonderful, is putting at risk for such things. Oh, and those of you who spend a lot of time traveling around the world, there's now a plague outbreak in Madagascar, and they're worried it's going to travel to Europe, etc., because it's a great vacation destination. So, yay modern world. Yes. See you later.
Just don't go behind the gas card. Okay, Victoria,
Oh,
this says you wish to keep public comment.
oh, yes. Are all of these meetings being posted on Nextdoor? I seem to miss the notices.
I don't know, I'm not posting to Nextdoor, so I think Keith was.
I haven't seen any, and I'd certainly like, because that does get out to the masses, I'd
True.
certainly like to see the board work really hard to get all the meeting notices out on Nextdoor.
I'll shut up our,
And if you need help, well, help.
okay,
I think it's important for the stakeholders, all the stakeholders.
all right,
Thank you.
no problem. And here's Barry.
I don't have anything.
Okay, all right, and
Yeah.
we will move on to Jessica.
Evening, everyone.
Hello. Hi, Jessica.
Don't have a whole lot. Most of my time right now is still WP and now Recycla is where a lot of my time is gone. Still no date yet from the Planning Commission for Harbor Westlake hearing. The DWP, I personally sent out an email on October 6th with the message from Anthony Maxey. He is actually the rep for all council offices, not just ours. He's asking for another month to respond to everybody individually. So he will be doing that. I gave him a list of about 150 names. So he's going to contact everyone individually. And I will follow up with people as well, because I'm still getting emails on that. Still getting emails.
On what? I'm sorry?
DWP. A lot of people were emailing about
the rates
hundreds of
spiking? Yeah.
Yeah, and it was relating to water, not electricity. Water is the ones I was handling. And then Recycla issues as well. So I believe it's probably because it's finally hit Studio City. So this has been an ongoing issue. It just started now because it now hit Studio City. So basically what's going to happen is the new haulers will come out. They have a 24-hour customer service line. They will make personal assessments with each individual, whether it's a home or multi-level unit or a condo building or whatnot, and they will explain to them what their current bill was and what it will be based on their new assessment. So I've been getting calls on this, and I'll probably end up just emailing you if you need something. So if they do call you, then you know what to say and how to send it over to us. We're keeping a list of them through a Google Doc to send to our policy director, because it's possible that it may involve a policy change. Or an update based on the fact that a specific hauler, so the city of LA, long story short, had a specific rule. They had rules that basically, so when people applied to get the contract, so we had certain, I won't name who, we had certain waste management companies who did not like that they were removed from a lot of the contracts based on the fact that they didn't provide the necessary documentation. So based on that, they're retaliating. So we are here to help those people who need it. Just quickly, I can give the number if anyone wants to write it down for Ms. Pickups. They're 20, so they have a 24-hour customer service center. Again, it's 800-773-2489. And so we're asking people if they have issues with Recycla, or not to call sanitation, okay? Excuse me, to call sanitation, not 311. Do not, that just makes it slower. Call sanitation, not 311. So it's 800-773-2489. Just an example, I had an email today from someone who called me. His rate went from 600 to 2,000. So if you have any constituents or you yourselves are dealing with this, please let me know so I can address it for you. Williger Park is still in progress of being fixed. They started the piping for the restrooms. I went out and took a look at it last month with Jackie. They are sending out newsletters now which I will leave in the back, just an update, but they haven't sent me one for October yet. They send them out once a month through their PR team. It's MRCA, so they hire their PR. And I wanted to thank the board for helping out the Studio City cleanup day that we're doing on November 4th. Fumi was here last month, and you guys gave her some funding, so I appreciate that. We have the flyers now, so I emailed them to you today, Denise, and we can put them in the email blast, your website, whatnot. They will all have to confirm with their Fumi, so her number is on here, because the city, we were able to pay for the 80 spots to park in at the garage near this location, but they only had 80 spots available. So we have passes, so as each people RSVP online, they will get emailed a pass, and then we'll have some that day to hold just in case. Myself or someone else will stand outside and pass them out. So I'm still working on planning this as well. And that is it right now. Any questions?
Hi. Hey, Jessica. Thanks
How
for
are you,
coming.
Alex?
Good. Good to see you. Going back to the DWP.
Sure.
I just want to be clear that, if I'm not mistaken, the DWP subsidizes rates for people that are in need. Is that true?
I believe so, yeah.
It's like substantial subsidizing.
I don't know how.
So if someone claims, let's say they have 6 children or whatnot, blah, 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 DWP comes in and pretty much probably gives them they probably pay about 10% of what people would typically pay. My thought and concern is that these subsidies, someone has to pay for them. And the fact that people's rates have gone up as much as 60 to 70% in the past few months, people that are on fixed incomes, people that are retired, that can claim these many children or whatnot, just need, not only do we have to review what's going on, because I know how that works, you review ad nauseum and nothing really happens. What is specifically going to happen? What is the councilman prepared to do now regarding what these people are being put through right now? Because now they're being just offered payment plans. They're not being offered an actual statistical or some type of a forensic review of exactly what unit of water they use that now costs them 60% more.
Thank you for your question. Actually, yeah, we have been actually. Myself and Jackie had a phone call with Mr. Maxey about a week and a half ago specifically asking that. We want him to be specific when he contacts people. And if he needs to, we'll have to go out and meet with you in person. Yeah, he's already made that promise.
To what end?
To what end? If it's an issue where it's something, say someone's water bill is like normally $500 and now it's $3,000, then that will require extra attention. And we've made that very clear to him that we require that. And it's Matt Hill's aware of it as well. He's the policy director, so he talks to people very high up.
There has to be a reason for the change in the rate. Meaning, is it the rate? Is it the usage?
Some of it is just the normal change. Some of it is not. The abnormal things are what I've already spoken with Matt Hill. And that's, I'm the one that made the council member aware because I started to see something that seemed out of
next door.
I'm not on next door. I made the council member aware of the changes, and that's why Matt Hill and I have been in conversation with DWP.
So hopefully next month we'll have something concrete to go back to these people other than a payment plan.
Correct, other than, right. So some people will get a payment plan. There's the people who don't have anything out of the ordinary. It's a typical standard increase. Like, but me and with the increased rate is what I'm saying.
So there has been an increased rate, substantial.
Right. Not substantial, and it's already been clear on everyone's bills. So everyone, including myself, has a bill that's increased.
Thank you.
I'm meeting with Mr. Maxey next week to follow to see what his progress has been on contacting the 100
One last point.
people. Sure.
Could you find out how much of these subsidies we're paying for? Because I don't think it's fair if you guys, DWP wants to increase their public relations, and so does our government, city government, to get votes or for whatever reason. Do you think it's really fair for the people that are just trying to survive as well, that don't have these issues, should be subsidizing these people? With all due respect, I mean, everyone deserves to have a break, but to put it on the backs of people that are just trying to get by, yeah.
Trust me, it's not being put on you. I know for a fact it's not.
On me?
In other words, if we're subsidizing the low-income individuals, it's not coming out of your pocket.
Indirectly, it has to come from somewhere.
Correct.
Okay.
But not yours. No, I know the answer, but I'm not gonna, you know,
Well, I
you
think
can
a lot
talk
of
to me
people would
offline
like
and I'll
to.
explain
Okay.
to you.
All right, thank you.
And then, question, last meeting, we discovered that it could possibly be an equipment change, they changed their meters.
Right, some people have smart meters, but they could not identify at that night who had what.
I thought everybody that was having issues said they did have smart meters.
That's what people said, but when I was explaining, the DWP rep couldn't really answer that, he couldn't confirm that.
Okay.
And that's the issue that I had. They have to get back to everyone individually and explain to them that's the case. So the other guy that came was like their engineer who could explain that. I didn't particularly appreciate it because Mr. Maxey said he was going to be here in person. He was going to individually, that night, speak to every single person, and 24 hours before the meeting, he pulled out. So this is an issue that our office is
Okay.
yeah.
I just want to say one thing.
Sure.
He's not contacting people, as far as I know. I got a call from his customer relations
Okay.
woman that, just said, sorry, I'm using too much water. So I'm on my backyard, I'm on tier 3, and it's costing me like hundreds of dollars to water outside.
Please email me.
Okay, well.
And please send me, I need your history for the water from like the last 3 months and this time last year. Okay? Send that to me with your account number?
Will do.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, thank you as always, Jessica, for your diligent and cheerful service. I would like to draw your attention to, I think, some requests maybe that have come from the board about the luminaria and the Campo de Cahuenga, and maybe there's a possibility that we can get a little break on the fees. If the city can help us out a little bit, that would be much appreciated.
I'm going to speak with Jackie when she comes back in. She's on vacation now. I did speak with Mr. Niederberg earlier, and we will take care of the fees for the tables and chairs. I don't know why they're charging for that if they already have them. We'll take care of that. And I did know the invoice that I have was like $13.15 in comparison to $2,000. So I'll speak with Jackie, and then we'll speak to you.
Appreciate it.
Any more questions? Barry?
Somebody in my neighborhood is on the DWP assistance, and as I recall, because I asked him about it, it's based on income, not the amount of people in your household. And if you get a discount, it's a flat discount. It's not like somebody with 10 kids gets a bigger discount than just one person. So it is helping people who are on fixed incomes for one reason or another, and the person with 10 kids is not getting a bigger discount than the person who lives alone.
No, you're right. Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
There's no other discounts offered? You're absolutely sure about that?
I mean,
Well,
I know there's one
it on the
in-
electricity
Yeah.
and water, I believe.
I don't know if that's true. I think there's several different programs.
Richard?
Well, for the other discounts, you go ahead and check with Aaron Rogers. He's got plenty of free time these days. The rate whisperer at the meeting was delightfully also uninformative and talked out of both sides of his mouth. He said that the baseline for the entire city was, if I remember correctly, he said 8 ACF for everybody. And then somebody asked him about, gee, what about the valley and stuff, the different climate zones? He said, oh, you get a different baseline. Now, you can't have it both ways, and I brought that to Jessica's attention. And the last time we were having a power crisis and a water crisis, and they told us all to conserve, so I pointed out at the last meeting, everybody did, and then they jacked up our rates again to make up for the fact that we were buying enough of what they'd made their budget for, and they had to pay out their unions and give money to the city and the rest of it. It's the same old story. We live in Chinatown, even though Studio City, they lie. And in closing, I'd like to thank Jessica for all the hard work. Anytime I see something wrong in our area or elsewhere, she and the rest of the staff are delightfully responsive, get it all taken care of as quickly as possible, and even put up with me calling. So thank you.
And just a reminder, like anyone, when I went away, on an average day, I get about 150 emails a day. So I'm behind about 350. So if you don't get a response from me in like 48 hours, if you email me, please call me. Barely anyone calls me. Like no joke, literally, like I get 2 calls a day. Unless I call, which I do. But just a reminder to everyone, feel free to call me whenever you need something. Like, don't hesitate.
And Jack will see you back tomorrow.
What's that number
Yes.
again?
818. I'll give you my direct line. My direct line is 818-755-78 5-7.
Spike in front of you.
What's that?
There you go. Thank you.
No problem. Oh, and one last thing, almost forgot, how can I forget? Oh my goodness. So we were notified that we have a Department of Public Works is going to be reconstructing a sewer that's an emergency issue in Studio City and located on Elmer Avenue. We had met with their staff about, I think right before I went on vacation, concerning the construction that will take place. I think it was a very good time because oddly enough, I received a request from a gentleman who was complaining about the noise of the steel plates on his street and he didn't like the sound. So I was trying to figure out who put them there and everyone's like, not me, not me, not me. And then I got a call from Public Works for sewer. So I wanted to introduce my colleague, well, city colleague, Olga Morales, who is here to chat just for a few minutes and has some information to give out.
Thank you, Jessica. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. If I may, I would like to hand out some handouts so you have an idea of the area that will be impacting. I believe we can pass them out. This is Celso Perez. He is our project engineer who will be working on the project. The project is scheduled to start within the next couple of weeks. Most likely the last week of October, and it's going to be scheduled to last approximately 6 months. It's going to have some traffic impacts and...
Basically, I show an example here of the sketch. This is Violent over here in this direction. The 101's in this direction, and the 134 over here, so we're south of it. Basically, we'll be closing Elmer, Napa Vista, this portion of it, with basically letting only local traffic in the direction. The red area, the traffic location will be impacted. And that's where mostly our plates are located, around that direction. So hopefully, due to our closure, we will have less noise. Any other questions?
What is the nature of the repair? How did you discover that the repair was necessary?
I don't know if you're familiar. I think last year we had a big emergency that we still switched to the Long Beach area, and this is the same sewer alignment that goes all the way over there to that direction where we're working at East LA area, approximately Boyle Heights area. So we decided, the city decided, the Bureau of Sanitation decided to do an investigation of all the sewer system alignment, and from that discovery, they found that the whole system has in bad shape. Basically, the crown of the pipe is missing. So any time there could be collapse as we speak.
And just a couple months ago, if you remember, there was in Laurel Canyon, there was where cars collapsed. We saw it on the news. So those are the situations that we're trying to avoid. I will be the contact person that the community can reach out to. You can call the main line, which is 213-978-0333. Or if you have any questions yourselves, you can call me directly on my cell phone, which is 626-483-2878. I usually try to respond within 24 hours. If it's urgent, please say so. It's urgent so that I can reply ASAP. I will be working very close with Celso and Monthly Expenditure, who is going to be our contractor. I will be notifying the community, walking door to door with residents and businesses, introducing myself, handing out the notifications this Monday. I've already spoken with one of the gentlemen who's going to be impacted that Jessica mentioned. He's right here on the corner, right on the corner, Mr. Allen. So I'm accessible via emails, phone. I'll come and talk to them. With businesses, the same thing. I will be working with the businesses to minimize the impacts. Unfortunately, we are closing the street, and that is going to impact traffic and commuters. But that's the fastest way that we can solve the situation without having to open up, close, open up, and it takes longer to do that procedure in the mornings and in the evenings. And like I said, we want to expedite the work as quickly as possible and get it going before the rainy days come in, because anytime rain comes out, Then our contractor for safety issues, they're not allowed to work. That delays. I've given ourselves some cushion already within a month or so of leeway, but once they open the street, we don't know how bad it is. And that's going to determine. And if there's any changes, I will be in communication with Jessica and doing other notifications to the community. And I will provide information to the neighborhood council.
Is there a chance that the printout didn't track the same way with the bigger one? Because this has the type of appearance.
That is the same.
Should be the same. North Tower is this way.
Can I show you this?
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Maybe.
I just want to make sure that this is.
Yeah, it
it's
should
on
have
this,
been.
okay.
It should have been right here. I'm sorry.
Okay. Oh, great.
And that will be correct.
If you email me or the board a copy of this, I can send it out to all of our people in Studio City, e-blast, to give them that information.
You'll get it done tomorrow. You'll have it tomorrow morning.
Any other questions?
There's a question behind you.
Yes.
The news covered a huge water main break on Elmer right next to Aqua Vista about 2 years ago.
Okay.
Did that do the damage to the sewer that's now causing this repair?
This sewer is more than 80 years old. Due to the fact of sulfuric acid is in the sewer system, it eats away eventually the brick. We have clay layer brick basically, and the clay layer brick basically falls down because of either the sulfuric acid eats it away, and then now we have concrete, and the concrete is more susceptible to the sulfuric acid, so it eats away much faster.
I just thought it was odd that it was in the exact same place that a huge water main break,
No, not really.
you know, with news helicopters hovering over for days.
No.
And are both Elmer and Aqua Vista going to be closed?
Portions of it.
Yes. Basically, here's
Because
that.
Aqua Vista is a major cut through for a lot of people.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
You know, and that's what we were going to try to expedite. There's going to be we've spoken with the contractor, and there's a possibility because they're going to be working as it is extended hours. Normally they would work from 7 to 4. We're giving them 7 to 7, with the possibility of doing weekend hours to expedite it as quickly as possible. If they start falling behind schedule, whatever, and the need comes, we did mention night work, but we want to avoid the night work because the people sleep, and we don't want. We're already disrupting the community during the day, so we don't want to get any more impacting them more than we have to. Yes.
You wouldn't be able to discuss the work that's still happening in front of the DWP on Goldwater. You probably barely know more about that. It just seems like recently, moving from this, there's a lot of work going on, but there's really not a lot of stuff going on. Like I see a lot of cones and a lot of guys hanging out. We've heard the story a million times. It's really causing a disruption.
Unfortunately, we're two different departments. DWP that handles their own, and they have their own PR, and Public Works, the city, does their own.
I mean, the street looks great. It's just all these trucks and cones. I don't see anything going on. So
I can totally understand because about a year and a half ago, we also had a year and a half. We had another project within the vicinity, and after we finished, they were still calling me thinking that we were, and it was not us no more. We try to get there in and out and as quickly.
Also, another point, and I'm sorry, we'll move on, but just a news flash. Our city's over 80 years old, and I hope that you guys have put aside some money to repair things over the years, and money aside, right? Rather than just doing whatever you do with our money.
Well,
so I know things are 80 years old.
There are capital projects on the line, and they're scheduled. I mean, every year
they're
evaluated, and the way I understand it, it was explained to me, they're done on a priority level.
As they break.
Especially like some of the major projects that we have been put aside so we can address
anything
emergency.
Proactively. Or do we just wait until it's a complete disaster?
No, that's why this is proactive, because they already determined that it's damaged.
That's nice.
And instead of waiting until there's a collapse or a void, we're going in there ahead of time.
Right.
So that's what we're trying to do.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to let us know. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have a new representative from Dunn. You might, he's going to come up and introduce himself to us.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Gibson Yamura, and I am from the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment. Previously, you worked with my colleague Barry Stone, and you've also been working with Cindy Park. I just want to take a second to at least introduce myself. Wanted to definitely take some initiative. Will be one thing that we've been encouraging all neighborhood councils is just to complete the demographic survey. As some of you are aware that the Los Angeles City Council voted on pushing neighborhood council elections to 2019. So I haven't checked the bylaws, but if we're encouraging all neighborhood councils, if any neighborhood council wants to do election by selection, we are encouraging them to do the bylaw amendments now. We'll be taking the first 5 applications, and we'll be sort of processing the bylaw amendments. In addition, I'll be trying to be proactive in sending my neighborhood councils ordinances are being worked in the city council based off of legislative sort of the ordinance number in an effort to encourage more neighborhood councils to submit community impact statements. We want to encourage neighborhood councils to use the tool that is the CIS, and I'll be sending it out as an individual sort of email. I was giving you weekly legislative updates, just kind of a report, and also gives a small discussion, brief highlight as to what the motions that have been introduced in City Hall are. They usually sent out in the general manager's email, but I believe sometimes there's usually a lot of information, so if I can disseminate it and pass on direct information, hopefully it will be helpful and sort of your legislative duties. Other than that, if anybody has any questions, please feel free to let me know, and I'll be here, and you'll be seeing some emails from the system. Hope you, if anybody doesn't like my emails, let me know. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we were going to have a treasurer's report, but since the treasurer is the only person who can download the MER, then we have nothing to discuss. So we're going to table the treasurer's report. And do you have a, Mr. Lewis, do you have a
budget? We didn't have a budget meeting. That's the end of the budget report.
Okay, that's quick.
So I'm not ready yet.
You're not ready yet?
Yeah, no,
oh,
I'm
okay.
ready. You got here so quickly. I do have a question of point of order. I think I must have dropped a line from what I sent you for the agenda. So I have a friendly amendment to mine. Should I read the motion as it is in the agenda presently, and then the amendment?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, we can. So I'll just do those in sequence. But the motion on the agenda is the Board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council supports application ZA 2017-3699 CUB, which is a beer and wine with full line alcohol with food at 10964 West Ventura Boulevard. The request is a conditional use permit for the sale of full line alcohol in connection with a 1,657 square foot, 1,144 indoors and 531 square feet patio with 46 seats, 24 indoors and 20 outdoors. Hours 12 p.m. to 1 a.m. Sunday through Wednesday, and 12 p.m. 2 a.m. to 2 a.m. Thursday through Saturday. Support is hereby extended for the project as described in the master land use application package and information presented by the applicant to the Studio City Neighborhood Council Land Use Committee on 10/11/2017. Operation of subject establishment in compliance with conditions and limiting extended business hours to 2 nights per week. And the part that dropped off was I'm going to read that the last portion for the correction.
I'm sorry, can you use the microphone?
Sure, I'd love
I'm
to.
having a hard time.
Support is hereby extended for the project as described in the master land use application package and information presented by the applicant to the Studio City Neighborhood Council, LUC, on 10/11/17. Operation of subject establishment in compliance with attached conditions Exhibit A, without accord on item 8, and limiting extended business hours to 2 nights per week. So again, the reference is to our standard conditions. There was no agreement on item 8, which has to do with hours of patio operation. And the recommendation of the committee is that rather than staying open till 2 o'clock 3 nights a week, that applicants use 2 nights a week to extend the hours of operation. And we have the applicant's representative here for any.
Hi everyone, my name is Mark Levin, Gonzalez Law Group representing Gray Tavern. I'm also a stakeholder within this neighborhood council district. I'm just here to answer any questions that you might have regarding the operation or anything that was discussed at the meeting. Thank you. I do want to actually.
What's the name of the restaurant or bar?
For the moment, the working name is Gray Tavern. That is subject to change, but that's, I think, one we're going with. There are a couple.
What was it before?
What was it? So the use used to be admittedly it was a marijuana shop. We are undergoing a change of use right now. That change of use has already been approved by city planning pursuant to DIR 2017 694 SPP. That's a project permit compliance to basically say that the change of use is in compliance with the specific plan.
Which we've heard and voted on as a board, as a land use committee and as a board.
Correct. That's already been approved. Right now what we're doing is just a conditional use permit for the alcohol component within the restaurant itself.
So is there a liquor license for the location, or are you still applying for it?
Separately, we're going to have to apply for a liquor license with the state, the ABC. It has not been acquired yet. Usually, we don't recommend that they start the acquisition process until the CUB process is a little bit further along. Only because the ABC process usually takes between a month to 3 months, whereas the city's process can take anywhere from 6 months to a year.
And this is right across the street from the Ralph Shopping Center, right?
It is,
at
yes.
Vineland.
Yeah.
And there's Vivian's restaurant right next to it?
Vivian's is on one side. The other side is Manti. Manti is owned by the same operator.
Okay.
So the operator has almost a decade of experience within that particular area, knows her clients very well. Like Manti, Gray Tavern is expected to be, it's a small restaurant. We're only talking about 46 total seats, so we're not talking about something that's going to be overly disruptive. It's something that is really intended to serve the people in the immediate neighborhood.
Will they share the parking lot?
The parking lot is shared. It's, well, what's the best way to describe this? For the change of use, we were required to add additional parking. The change of use requires 11 total parking spaces. We're satisfying that, and all of that stuff is already approved by city planning. As far as it being shared, one of the things that we're looking into is valet service in the rear, and that would be for both Manti as well as Gray Tavern.
So valet pickup on Ventura Boulevard, or?
No,
in the alley?
It would most likely be in the alley. Admittedly, it's not likely the LADOT would approve of valet pickup on Ventura. There's bus stops in the area, so that would probably be a non-starter. With valet pickup in the alley, the one thing that's important to remember is between the two restaurants, we're talking about less than 100 total seats. So it's not likely to be a big operation that requires a lot of cars moving in and out. It's going to be much smaller scale.
Mr. Niederberg?
Yeah, they already recorded the parking covenant. They were presented for our approval, and it was fine.
And I think Advance is mostly having outdoor seating. I know there's an indoor component as well. So will you share that patio between the two?
The patio spaces are going to be next to each other, but they're not shared. You're not going to be allowed to bring food or alcohol from one side to the other.
Has anyone in the neighborhood any complaints so far? Any pushback?
No, to the contrary, we've actually had, we passed around a sheet that we filed with our conditional use permit application. I want to say it was around a couple dozen signatures of people in the area that are in favor of our request. Like I said, the current use, or not current, but now previous use had been a marijuana shop, and it had been going through those kinds of uses for a long time now, and I think a lot of people in the area are very glad to see a restaurant take over.
So, something valuable. Mr. Johnson.
Are you paying for in lieu parking?
We are not. We were able to record a covenant just a couple doors down that requires there to be parking maintained for just our operation.
So where are your required parking spaces? You said, was it 20?
No, in total, there are 11 required. 2 of them are set aside with bike parking. 4 are actually on site, and the other 5 are a recorded covenant, about 180 or so feet to the east.
And is that available all during your operating hours? Because a lot of times those sort of parking spots are only available after 5 when another business closes.
They're made available during the entire time the business is open. Usually when you see an arrangement like that, it's a lease. Somebody allows somebody to park under certain conditions and under certain parameters, but when it's a recorded covenant, it is required that those spaces be available at all times the business is functioning.
And your outdoor seating is not on the sidewalk?
It is not at this time. I did bring something up to the land use committee, and this was just more of a suggestion. We're considering asking city planning for a revocable permit and to put a small amount of seating along Ventura. It's not something that is in the current plans, but it's something that we really do. We want the feedback of the community, and if you think it's a good idea, it's something that we'll pursue. If not, it's something that we might table into another time.
Would it be part of your 20 outdoor seats or additional seating,
it would
which then triggers more parking?
It would be additional seats. It would not trigger more parking.
Well, it wouldn't trigger more required parking, but it would trigger the need for more places to park in the neighborhood, even though the city doesn't require it for that outdoor sidewalk dining. That's the reality.
I do understand, you know, living in this area, I recognize that parking along Ventura is very, very challenging. One thing to remember is this is a relatively quiet area of Ventura, and it's an area that doesn't have a ton of parking issues. This, I mean, by comparison, if you want to look at...
Well, it does, because there
Yes.
are meters there, and one side where the Rouse is, there's no parking.
There's no place in Los
So,
Angeles that doesn't have parking.
It has parking issues.
It's true, it's
and
not...
the sidewalk is rather small, narrow in that area.
What I meant to say is that it's not in the same vein as, for instance, right around the intersection of Laurel Canyon, where parking is absolutely impossible. There's also a parking lot by Walgreens on the other side of Vineland that is available after 9 p.m. after that store closes. So parking, while I obviously recognize that along the entirety of Ventura Boulevard can be an issue, it's not quite as problematic right in this specific area.
Mr. Adams, do you have?
Yeah, they're going for a late night crowd because the parking will be free after, more parking will be available after 9 o'clock. They want to be open at all hours. Where's the nearest residences to this, you know, supposedly
Behind it.
Huh?
Behind it.
Right behind it.
There's a giant apartment building.
Okay,
Right
so
behind.
we want to be open until midnight most days of the week and until 2 a.m. the rest of them. We want to serve alcohol outside, inside, and everything else, and the parking lots here and there, and you're going to have drunks walking back and forth. This is a noise hazard. It's waiting to happen. It will be a problem, especially with the crowd that just admitted they're going to. And the fact that this applicant doesn't even want to work with our standard terms and conditions that I helped draft. They want everything they can possibly get, and they're not willing to meet anybody and, you know, fit into the neighborhood and worry about valid concerns. I strongly urge this board vote this, you know, that we do not support this plan as currently existed unless such time as the applicant works with this neighborhood council and land use committee, recognizes the valid concerns of the community.
What crowd did they say they were going after? I think he said they were going after the people in the neighborhood.
No, but then if they're in the neighborhood, then why does he need more parking after 9 o'clock?
But who said that?
He didn't say.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay, time out.
Why is people
I'm
shouting?
reading between the lines.
Hey, time out. Time out. This is not
Just
a.
ignore.
Yeah. This is.
Don't we first respond and then the public?
Okay, yeah.
There are traditions.
Does anyone else have anything to add?
I highly support it. Monte has been there for 10 years, and they've got community support. And this is going to be a nice little restaurant next door. I don't see any issues. I go to Vivian's a lot, and parking with people waiting in line on weekends, parking has not been an issue. So it is an area where it's less of an issue than other areas on Ventura. I think it's going to be an addition to the area, and I just highly support it. And the land use, committee supported it, so we recommend to support it.
I think the area of Ventura and Vineland could use more eyeballs and more positive businesses. So I will be in support of this.
I'm going to miss the pot shop, frankly, but no, I think that a long-term stable business will be a benefit to the area. And the only lack of accord really was relative to the patio seating, right? Which is our standard condition 8 that we asked that exterior seating close at 11. And because the preponderance really of the seating in that particular establishment is outdoors, it is. I understand why that's a challenging request to say yes to. But the fact that it's the same owner-operator as Manti, who has a history in the neighborhood and runs a pretty, I think it kind of represents what is a real mom-and-pop establishment. I think that if we're taking chances, and we generally have approved such requests with this set of conditions, signed or unsigned, that I think that this is a relatively low-risk proposition, in my humble opinion. So.
And one more point, sorry, Monte closes at 2 a.m., doesn't it? Or 1?
I believe it closes on certain days of the week.
Okay, so, and there's been no issues closing at 1, and it's the same size, yeah. So
It's almost identical in size and shape. The menus are going to be totally different for what it's worth. With regard to the operator, if you haven't get a chance to meet her, she's just a very sweet lady, and to say it's a mom and pop shop, that's a perfect way to describe it. For Manti, the executive chef is the son, so this has been a family idea for a long time, and when I met with her first, she told me about how cooking is in her family bloodlines. They own and operate restaurants, and they like these small type things because they actually get a chance to meet and to get to know their own clientele. There is residential nearby, and I think of that as a fortunate thing that the residents can potentially walk to additional places. The building just to the south of the alleyway and to the south of our restaurant site, the first floor is all parking. And to my knowledge, the second floor just adjacent to our site is like a laundry room, which is logical if you want to think of it. If you were living in an apartment building and you had a view to the alley, you wouldn't be quite as happy. You'd rather the view be on the, say, street side. In general, we have good neighborhood support just by the virtue of the place being in existence for 10 years. And we've had no issues with LAPD the entire time that Manti's operated. We don't anticipate any kind of raucous crowd whatsoever. The typical bill size, although it hasn't been determined, it's expected to not cater to people who are looking to get lit, for lack of a better term. It's going to be more towards professionals. It's going to be more towards people who are in their 30s and above. And like I said, I'm here for your support, and if you have any other questions, I'm happy to answer.
I was at the meeting when they presented, and I drove around there the other day and in the back. And behind the restaurant, there's the patio, and there's the foliage screening, and then parking. And then the alley, and then one apartment building, there's parking, and it's mostly blank wall with some smallish windows. It looks like there may be balconies front to the alley. I don't think it's like living rooms against the alley or bedrooms, I don't think. And there weren't that many windows. I felt that it was overall the The history of these people is excellent, and I think this is a good project for that neighborhood, and I'm looking forward to going there.
Thank you.
So this falls under my project, The Forgotten End of Ventura Boulevard, which it is. So I appreciate the fact that there will be a restaurant bar there, aside from the Fox and Hound.
Yeah, I think it's a little, I forget exactly where it is. It's in the area, it's a little bit farther to the west, right?
Down the street, and residual. So, and yes, Manti is a reputable restaurant. They've been in the area for a while. So I just ask that you guys do a great job and really don't cut corners and bring some interesting light to the area. We would really appreciate that. So I support it.
Mr. Niederberg?
I was also at the meeting, and again, I'm less concerned about deviation than I am about parking. By actually filing the covenant, you can keep a copy of it basically, as long as it's part of the deal, let's go with it.
Okay. All right, let's vote. We can just do hands.
1 second, just before we vote, there's a couple typos. I don't know if that needs to be just prior to the vote or right after.
No, we should change it. Yes. What are our typos?
Yeah, I believe so.
Just, I mean, these are small things. It says 1,657 square feet, and then 1,144 indoors, and it's supposed to be 513 patio, and then right after that, with 46 seats, it's 26 indoors and 20 outdoors. Yeah.
Okay, everyone who is in favor of this, please raise your hand. I believe we're unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Vice Chair.
You have 3 motions from Government Affairs tonight, and I just, in trying to not take a lot of time on these 3, I would just like to point out that all 3 are existing legislation now, and these 3 motions are an attempt at making some changes to all 3 things that already exist. It's not creating new legislation, it's fixing things that are already in place. So, do you want to read them?
All right. Motion A, the Board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council is concerned that an unintended consequence of the Transportation-Oriented Communities Affordable Housing Incentive Program guidelines, the TOC, will be to drive residential density into commercial zones, eliminating business and creating jobs. Within the TOC program, there should be specific identification in which areas are to remain low density, as a maintenance of such areas was a desired goal of the stakeholders identified during the outreach period, and the 10% of the land eligible for the TOC program should also be specifically identified in an appendix to the guidelines. Further, there is no established program for monitoring or enforcement of the SB 1818 low-income provisions for developments once they are built, and therefore many developments which increase in density have not, once they are, therefore, lost it. And therefore, many developments which increase density have not resulted in additional affordable housing, but actually replace lower density affordable housing with higher density units that are not affordable. The SCNC is opposed to the TOC program unless it is revised to include a specific and effective monitoring and enforcement program to ensure that permanent increased affordable housing is achieved. The low-income provisions must be enforced for 50 years, not 10 or 15 years. Additionally, the provisions of existing specific plans must be maintained.
Can I just mention, too, that in LA, we have such a record of creating legislation that is never monitored or enforced. So, this again is pointing out the fact that it is not in this legislation and it needs to be.
I believe that there was a lot of hoopla, and it was in the newspapers, where all the apartments that had previously been built over metro stations were now, everybody was being forced out and the rents were going up and only,
Well, and we even have an 1818 building on Moore Park near Coldwater, just east of Coldwater. It's like, and it's 56 feet tall on somebody's backyard with northern exposure, that's their northern, their shadow from the sun. And that was supposed to have so many, I forget, like 4 out of 20 affordable units that have never, it's, initially somebody moved in and now the people are gone, and when they were re-rented, they should have still been affordable and they're not. So, just one case of thousands in this city where they've gone for affordable housing and a year later it's not, because there's no enforcement.
Isn't HCD the authority responsible for that, for tracking those provisions, housing and community development? It's supposed to like meter rent increases and validate those sorts of.
They're supposed to monitor and enforce, but I think the big problem with these agencies is that up until maybe the last few months, the money's never in their budget to hire somebody to do that.
The enforcement issue, yeah. And this, the local project on Moore Park that you're speaking of, was that condos? Is it condos or is it apartments?
I think it's condos.
Because I think condos are probably just as a piece.
And it was supposed to be sold at a certain price, and if it was resold again, it had to still stay within.
I think apartments are probably easier to regulate than condos. That would be my guess, but I don't understand the point of it.
Yeah, I got a clarification question. When you say this legislation already exists, it's approved and is the rule of the city, or it's still going through process?
It's the Transit-Oriented Communities Affordable Housing Incentive Program. Those guidelines are already in place.
Okay.
Yes.
Then what's this 10%? Is that of all the land that might qualify, only 10% can be part of it?
Yes.
Okay. Then I strongly support this.
Any more questions from the board?
Yeah, I do. How is it that Santa Monica has, has...
They're an entity unto themselves.
I understand, but you see how they register units, and they keep tabs on the rental levels on each unit.
The allocated funding.
Santa Monica is a smaller city, and their infrastructure allows them to do a better job, just like Burbank is smaller and they have immaculate sidewalks.
Right, but if a unit is newly constructed, we have the ability to bring that into the system, whatever computerized system that is, to register its current
And that's
value.
the point, is that this were LA.
Right, but it's not a physical asset that needs to go out and actually look at it. It's something that can be done electronically. These are new units, and we can newly register these units at a certain level of rent.
And you're saying they register so such that when they're rented in Santa
No, I
Monica.
know, I get that part. But the point is that at any point, that tenant
We could be doing it.
that tenant could, it doesn't need any more physical assets to do a
We need more,
keystroke.
we need more employees, which
No,
we have
really, though. They do a lot of registering on every new building,
Yeah.
so just an extra allocated.
Yeah, as the owner of units, every year you have to list the unit and the rent, and there's a record of it. So I don't know what he's talking about, but that's not the first time.
Well, enforcement.
Yeah, but
It's the
it's
enforcement.
recorded on there and you have to sign it under perjury. So, the landlord or owners opening themselves up to, just a simple paperwork thing. And I'm just suspect about this, what Barry is saying, that it's not happening, or nobody ever does this, or every single low-cost unit gets re-rented at some astronomical rate. I just don't find that.
Well, this isn't as much about rent control as it is when new units are built and then monitoring it from that point forward. And it's not, it can be condos too, it's not just rentals.
Yes, Mr. Welch.
So I guess I would ask, what is the particular issue? I mean, I understand that this commentary is directed at established legislation. What is the Government Affairs Committee trying to protect Studio City from with it, or to envision?
Well, we have a homeless problem. We're trying to get people off the streets, those that are willing to. And if we do have some units built, like say the one on Moore Park, we'd like to see, like, you know, Rita has in here, keeping them affordable units for 50 years so we can help get rid of the homeless problem in LA, and we've got them here too. So I mean, we need to support it citywide because we're affected by it too.
Right. I think the objective is an important parameter to the discussion, right?
Yeah.
What is the potential that we can achieve here? So.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
Why is she worried? So
Should we vote? Should we vote on this?
Yeah.
You guys over there?
Teresa,
Okay, all right. All right, we vote, show of hands, everybody for this, please raise your hand. All against? Okay, we have 4 against.
I need to see those hands.
Mr. Sutton?
All right, I'm going down. Okay. Alex.
Yes.
Andrew.
No.
Craig.
No.
Heidi.
Yes.
I am against. Lisa.
Yes.
Patrice.
No.
Patrick.
No.
Richard.
No.
I'm Richard Welsh.
Yes.
Rita is not here. And
Votes
Denise.
no.
Denise.
Is it time for cake?
You better hope she recovers, she'll haunt you.
She does already.
I said haunt, not hate.
It's 5 for, 6 against. There were
5, 4, 6.
5 for it, and 6
5.
against
And
it.
6 were against it.
4 FOR.
Yes.
Motion does not.
All right, motion doesn't carry. We'll go to B. The Board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council is concerned that there has been no identification of the location of underutilized hotels and motels in the interim motel conversion ordinance. The elimination of affordable motels and hotels and rent stabilization units will have an adverse effect on the number of available affordable units because some properties which could qualify for this program may currently be occupied by low-income families, and this could result in those families becoming homeless. This will also cause the loss of affordable motels and hotels for visitors coming to LA. Additionally, there needs to be a mechanism to be sure that projects which are converted under the IMC ordinance are distributed throughout the city and not all located in one particular area. Notice of potential conversion should be provided to the neighborhood council and to the 500-foot radius and not just properties abutted to the proposed conversion property. Further, there must be a program established for monitoring and enforcement of the provisions of the IMC ordinance, including making sure that the properties are properly maintained and do not become a blight on the community in which they are located, and that residents continue to receive the supportive services that they need. All right.
Just again asking for some fixes in the existing ordinance.
Yeah,
it doesn't mean the city will do it, but it's asking them to look at these things.
Can I ask a procedural question? Yeah. So what is the mechanism? These aren't CISs because there's no. I mean, where you attach it just to the ordinance number, or what is the mechanism for getting this?
It actually still can be a CIS, even though because it still has a council file number, even though it's a passed ordinance.
It's done, right,
but yeah, in this case, it would be going to our council member and probably copied to all the other 14.
So to the, it's a message to the city council.
Right, because that, by going to the other 14, then you hit all the land use committee council members too.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, for this public comment, I'd just like to point out this is to an interim motel conversion ordinance. Interim ordinance means that somewhere down the line there will be a permanent ordinance more than likely. And by weighing in now, we get our licks in early when they go to make this permanent. These changes are all valid and important. And I strongly urge you to support this. And I'd like to nominate the Park Motel to be the first facility to fall under this. I'd like to see somebody monitor.
Entertainment fee, come on.
People park their expensive cars at 3:30 in the morning.
Okay, comment?
That's the thing you're saying.
We don't understand it.
What I believe this means is that transient individuals could be moved to our motels. So Studio City has quite a bit of it. And I think that could be quite dangerous.
Is that what, that's what this is?
Isn't it more dangerous that they're living in the bushes of the LA River? Potentially.
Yeah, but I mean, this whole idea that the only thing that's causing homelessness is a lack of affordable housing. Like the guy sitting out there with, you know, his own crap all over him is not just waiting for a studio to open.
Right. Some may choose to be where they are, but there are many who would like a roof over their head. And in Studio City, we can't just say, no, we won't take any. I mean, we've got homeless, so we also have to be part of the solution citywide.
So we're asking these hotels, these privately owned hotels, to just open up to, I mean, I'm just curious, that's what it is?
Yeah.
So it's Sportsman Lodge too?
Yeah, and I mean,
Yes, the city could potentially.
I know
ask
Rita
them.
emailed you guys an explanation on these
Right, I read
three,
it all.
and it says it better than I can say it sitting here.
Well, if they're underutilized, the landlord would be offered a deal. Hey, you're not renting out your rooms because we see the room tax every month. You know, so hey, you want to sign up for this program?
I think.
I mean, this motion is not going to make you think. Like when I drive down the street and in all parts of LA and I see a lot of homeless people, I think to myself, oh my God, what is LA becoming? This motion is not going to enable that to get worse. If anything, it'll help it get better.
Well, but it will, I mean, the more, I sit through all the homeless meetings and and the real reason they're getting it's getting extreme now in LA is the amount that are coming in from other cities.
Right.
And the more that they hear that, man, not only do you get free food, but now you got hotels to stay in. I mean, doesn't that encourage in some way just more and more from Denver and from Portland and
It's getting cold in the east and the north, and they're all coming.
I think it's hard to say. A lot depends on the economy of the entire country, on whether if it's bad, like in 08 and 09, people came here a lot more than
legal marijuana.
You know, one of the things though that is that the homeless tend to follow social services.
Yeah.
So if you have a food bank, they'll find it. You can be in Beverly Hills or Burbank. If it has the social services, the homeless will find it. So it's kind of like an attraction when you do too much in LA.
I drive through Beverly Hills daily, and I really don't see a lot of
Well.
But you know, as our president says, we live in the greatest country in the world. And every time I hear that, I think, well, we don't until we don't have people living in bushes in LA.
You will always have people living in bushes in LA. The bottom line is
At least have less.
You can do whatever. You will always have people living in the bushes.
Right, but 20 years ago, we did not have a homeless problem in Studio City.
So what changed?
I'm not sure.
I'd like to say what I feel changed, a couple of things, but The main thing is this development craze, tearing down affordable places and putting up,
No, but that's, honestly, that's about 4% of the homeless population.
It may be a small percentage,
It's a
but I
tiny
mean,
percentage.
it's not maybe the guy that's living in the bushes, but all those people living in their cars, trying to have to move their car because they live in a $1,200 a month bungalow that was torn down and now they're $3,000-4,000 a month. And they hit hard times, so now they don't have the credit to then get a new apartment somewhere. So they're literally living in their street.
Different areas in North Valley that are 3 and 4.
Sure, yes.
I mean, there are all sorts of things that have happened in the last 20 years. And Los Angeles, it's about as long as I've been here. And it's not what it's becoming. It's what it's become. It's already happened. And the whole viewpoint of various policies, sanctuary cities, the whole big gillock that we say in New York, it's a wide open, essentially, you pick the, we'll enforce the rules we like, we won't enforce the rules we don't like. We went through that in 1828. Andrew Jackson and John C. Calhoun in the nullification crisis. It's the same thing over here. Same thing with the marijuana laws. So either you're going to enforce the laws or you're not. So, what can I tell you? Does this thing tell these motel owners that they have to rent to people? I mean, is there a directive in it?
I don't think not a directive to say you have to rent and rent at this, reduced rate or anything like that.
Then what is it? I mean, what does it say to the renter?
I don't have the
guys that own the motels.
IMC ordinance in front of me. Like I said, this is a corrective motion to look at this ordinance and try and make these fixes to it.
Okay. I hate to be old-fashioned, but, it's private property, right? It's not, the government doesn't own it, the government doesn't regulate it, unless there's a liquor license.
And this ordinance isn't telling people they have to do something.
So I'm just throwing these things out for
Is it too soon for us to weigh in on
consideration as
this?
to some of the real reasons why Los Angeles is interesting. Just drive north-south, as I do all the time, to go to different courthouses. And it's absolutely depressing.
Out of control. Yeah.
Truly depressing.
Greg, what were you saying?
If this moved further along, then at that point, could we plant our flag and strongly oppose or support the motels related to Studio City? This, I don't understand what we're quite voting.
Well, we're asking here that all properties in a 500-foot radius be notified and that the neighborhood council be notified. So I think that's wonderful. I think the neighborhood council needs to know about what's going on in this ordinance. And this is asking that happen, and it's not happening now.
But be notified of what exactly?
Right.
Of the elimination of affordable motels and hotels and rent stabilization units in our community.
The elimination of it.
Be notified because
Isn't that city planning?
Barry, this is nothing against you. Should we table this until Rita?
I think so.
Right, because there seems to be kind of misunderstood. Yeah.
Well, yeah, maybe it's a good idea to table. I wish we would have tabled all three now, because I really don't, she could explain better, but in her defense, she did send out an explanation, which if you read it, you'd probably understand these three better.
And I read them, but I still have questions that I would have liked to. Yeah.
Would you care to table them until next time? Maybe.
Is there any way we can revisit A?
Anybody that supported it?
Well, she could ask at the next meeting for reconsideration on A, could she not?
Your next meeting.
Whoever was on the winning side.
Mr. Niederberg?
Yeah.
What's that?
ICE is,
The winning side of the motion.
ICE will be competing for some of these same units, so I'm a little concerned about that too.
What's the 500-foot?
The naturalization people.
Immigration.
Notification
people,
of anybody
and the same
around
exact
500 feet
motel
instead of just adjoining properties. Okay.
I think it probably would be to the benefit of these motions if we table them.
And somebody could make a motion to reconsider A, could they not?
If they could,
If they voted against it.
Right. Somebody who, what about a board member who wasn't here, like Rita?
the winning side needs to.
Within 24 hours, is it 40 hours?
Okay.
So, all right. So, all right, we're gonna table the number 9.
Do we have to vote on that?
Okay.
No, because
We don't vote on tabling it. You just-
Motion A, though.
You're removing them. Okay,
Which
you're removing
some
them.
people might
All right.
actually might flip it to the other side, if they were to understand.
Exactly, that's how it reads.
Okay.
Like you could go either way depending on.
Do you want to give us an update on transportation?
Yes.
Okay.
can we table that? All sign is tabled.
Yeah.
9 is gone.
Gone, it's over, it's gone.
But it never happened.
So, the Transportation Committee doesn't have any motions this month. I did give each of you one of these 2 sheets of paper. On Monday night, Councilman Brew had the second town hall meeting for the people in Sherman Oaks. And why this is significant to us is that Councilman Rue is actually acting proactively to create a solution to cut through traffic in the hills. And this cut through traffic is happening on streets that are legally not classified for through traffic. So for somebody to say, well, I should have the right to drive on any road I want if I want to go from Ventura to Mulholland, no, you don't have that right, because that street's legal classification in many cases to begin with is not for a thoroughfare, it's to get into a neighborhood to a specific address. So that is what he is doing here. He had the first meeting was last January, the second one was now. They proceeded with what they're going to do on these various streets. But my issue, and many others who spoke there, was thank you for doing this, but we have a dam, essentially, from the Cahuenga Pass to Havenhurst in Encino, with 100 different holes in it spouting water. That's your traffic. If you plug or restrict the flow on any hole, you create a bigger flow on the other holes. So our point was we need a regional solution for the entire area where you can cut through over the hills between the Cahuenga Pass and Havenhurst, which is like the last street that goes up to Mulholland, to cut through. So they're going through with this, and Rue said, you know, he wants to think globally, so we can only hope that he will, what he wants to do will be contagious with Koretz and Encino and Kerkorian here. So keep your fingers crossed.
Can I ask a naive question? So basically what we're going to do is, and I totally agree with the cut through, but this is all, again, symptoms of a big problem, which is people have to get to work. So if you can't use our streets, what is Rue going to do about that?
Yeah, it's a good question, and like you say, it is a bigger problem, and it's like...
And what's the cause of that?
The infrastructure improvements aren't there, like you've said so many times.
It's density.
It's density.
Are we going to start flying?
And what I've said to some of these meetings is, there are many cities across the country that are thriving without population increases.
Bring us
And we
businesses
haven't gotten
here.
to that point yet, where we say we're not going to encourage having more people here, because development brings more people, but it brings bucks to the developers. But if we ever get to that point and slow things down, maybe we can address some of these infrastructure problems.
I'm just wondering what choking all of this is going to actually do eventually. Just tell people not to come here anymore, and so our businesses.
I've been saying that for decades.
It also brings more voters and therefore more members of Congress in the Democratic Party, which is it's a one-party state.
It's all grandstanding
in Washington.
It's just grandstanding.
So yeah, I don't know where this is going. All I will say is that the people that have bought homes on these streets that are not legally designated for thoroughfare traffic have a right to be able to get out of their driveway in the morning, which now some of them say they wait 10 minutes to pull out of their driveway on a 20-foot wide street. Come on.
I just want to say this is an issue that started with Waze. I mean, unless you knew, like some of us who were natives and kind of knew the little shortcuts, yeah, we would cut through. But now Waze, everybody's cutting.
The other good aspect of this is when a legal sign goes up to like no right turn, that information from the city is inputted to Waze, and Waze changes their computer such that it's not going to tell you to turn right anymore where it says no right turn. Now, that's good for people, new people, but the ones that have the bad habit already, it's gonna take some time, but he's also saying he's going to dedicate discretionary funds to increase motorcycle cop traffic enforcement at the beginning. So I don't know. I give him credit for being proactive.
It's a good idea. Richard?
Yeah, Barry, I'd like to thank you for going to this meeting. I sent him the email. That would be appropriate. And I agree with the problem. I think I'd like to see your committee bring a motion next month to the board to encourage Paul Corey to work with Brew and the Mole and come up with a valley-wide solution to the problem.
I think we did that motion already.
If so, then we can always ask the president to resend it. And another question for you. I know that people in the neighborhood, now that the preferential parking is back on the table, your committee is working with various people in the community that need a motion from your committee to the board to support their...
We have 4 groups at the moment.
Okay, one up by Fryman and stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
Point of order before I go. Could I ask Richard to clarify for the record who the Mole is?
Yeah.
Paul Perez, for those of you that weren't in the forgotten part of Studio City prior to the redistricting, he was allegedly our councilman. And I'd also, another point of order, I'd like to point out that the rumor that Jeff Carter was in high school during the nullification crisis is really not true. It was grade school.
Although my middle name is Calum.
Okay, thank you, Barry.
And the only other thing I had was last night I went to the LA River Bikeway community meeting in North Hollywood, and I'm pleased to say that one of the things we were trying to do was get the bike path along the south side of the river for the most part in Studio City, because like where Bonds is, there's already ramps up to that parking lot. We want to encourage bicyclists that are going to go shopping. If they're on the river, they can go shop. And since Ventura, we've been told, is never going to have bike lanes in Studio City because it's too narrow, the place to be is along the river if you're on a bike. And then also from Colfax to Lancashire, they're now saying we are going to get a bike tunnel under the 101 on the south side of the river. So we are pleased to go from once we leave CBS, from Colfax to Lancashire and Universal's project, looks like it's entirely going to be on the south side, which is good news because they want to make this for commuters during the week. And the last thing you want to do if you're a bicyclist and a commuter is keep crossing back and forth across the river. You know, you want to go straight. So it's good news.
All right, Keith is not here, so outreach committee will be bill in advance?
I do have an out comment for outreach. It's pertinent to the outreach committee. Two things, and most of this is for the board. The generators you bought out of the last fiscal year need to go in for routine annual maintenance. And also, they have lived at my house for over a year. Between the board and the outreach committee, you need to identify who's going to be the new keeper of the generators and assorted cables and stuff that's needed to stay with the gas cords. I would like to eventually, one of these days in my lifetime, get the backyard and the front yard somewhat semblance of other than hillbilly town. And we did get a letter. The city does have money for enforcement because we got a letter from somebody from street services telling me that I had growth over the sidewalk in front of my house. I'm still looking for the sidewalk. So you are hereby encouraged to talk amongst yourselves and see us move in the garage or the patio of these things. Thank you.
Do you have anything to say about bylaws?
Of course I do. They're long and complicated. We had a nice productive meeting. As soon as Rita's offered deathbed, I need to get the verbiage from her that you guys folks were so nice to pass earlier this year and get it formally submitted. We've identified things we're going to do. We decided that having a 3-member committee was very handy. That way, if only 2 of the 3 people show up, you've got a quorum and you can do the meeting. And also, if nobody there likes the sound of their voice, so we can keep them fairly short and sweet. We're going to focus on what I talked about previously, moving as much of the verbiage that is currently our bylaws that really isn't bylaws and is more operating procedures to the operating procedures, which means that once that change is approved, which will take 2/3, and then people downtown get done going, okay, now it's soup. When there needs to be an effective change in the way the board conducts its business that is not bylaw specific, it takes a simple majority. So like there will still be in the bylaws, there's president, vice president, treasurer, secretary, corresponding secretary, etc. But the duties will be over in the operating procedures so that if for whatever reason stuff needs to be moved back and forth, things like that. The bylaws, the instructions will remain the same, but where the stuff is located will be moved to an area where the bylaws are much simpler and easier to read, and we'll go to look to getting rid of all the contradictions and this says this and that says that, so that everything is clearer and easier to do. But we hope to make the bylaws, like I said, streamlined and the procedures more easily to be changed so that we don't need to wait a year or 2 to make a change that needs to be done or ignore our bylaws for a year doing what we need to do, waiting for somebody to file a grievance, because we don't need any more of those.
Thank you. Lisa, are you here to chat up? Okay.
Lee was here for the September board meeting, and the board agreed to funding $100 for an event that's taking place this Saturday, October 21st. It's going to be held at Tree People, and it is basically this weekend celebration of Urban Wildlife Week, and it culminates with a 50-mile hike, where P22 took its course, assumed, to get to Griffith Park. So this is the 2nd annual Urban Wildlife Festival that takes place on Sunday. So if anybody on the board or committees would like to attend Saturday's event at the Tree People's Mark Taper Foundation Amphitheater, you're welcome. Senator Hertzberg and Assemblymember Adrina Zirin are going to be part of the conversation. And as board members, you'll get a lunch, but I just have to let the host committee know if you're going to be attending. And it's basically from 12 to 1:15. And then if you'd like to continue on with the hike, you're more than welcome to join it. But I'm really here to promote the P22 Urban Wildlife Festival, which is Sunday from 11 to 4 for the public, and then I'll be manning the ship for outreach on Sunday for setup, which is between 8 to 10, and that's at Griffith Park. So I posted it on Facebook and communicated with Keith for the past month and a half, 2 months, when they first made the introduction in August. So we're not going to do an outreach because it's such a short-lived conversation and such on Saturday at Tree People, but we are going to have an outreach booth, and I'm hoping that there's some arts and crafts materials still left in the office where I could take and pick up on Friday
and bring and use because they're looking to have some type of interactive, and I'll just make copies of some coloring forms, and we'll have some other stuff.
We have crayons.
You have crayons? Okay, so I'll double check, and I know we didn't use our couple of the funds for the business seminar, which took place August 23rd. I don't know if we could transition funds from that event. I don't think so. Treasurer's not here. I don't think so. It has to be allocated, right? Okay, so that just goes back into the kitty. All right. I didn't know if I could go buy some stuff over at the 99-cent store. All right. So those were really the two events, and then from the August business seminar, I sent the emails to include for ongoing communications to those attendees. So that's where we're at right now.
Great. Thank you very much.
Yes, Claire.
On P22 day, for the park, do you need people to come and like help with the booth?
Yeah, yeah. Are you part of the, when I send it to board@studcity.org? Okay. You might have gotten inundated a little today, maybe with 2 emails, but yeah, we'd love it. Pardon me?
I haven't checked my email.
Don't worry, and I won't tell anybody what's happening with the
I would love to help at some point during that day.
So,
the homework lets me.
No, that's fine. I'm going to be there for setup. Our booth number is booth number 59. If you, my cell phone number is on the email when you get time to look at it. Just let me know if you'd like to be there for any 1 hour, half an hour, couple of hours, and that'll be fine. I put our name as a committee to be there, and we'll be there. So, thanks, Claire.
I'm looking forward to it.
Lisa, the Griffith Park event is over by the merry-go-round?
Yeah, it
okay.
is. And the mapping was part of the communication to the board too.
Well, I was out and about doing other things, so it was late afternoon.
Yep, that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. So everybody has the mapping. And
I don't think all the crayons in the office have been eaten, so.
All right. Okay. Mr. Niederberg.
When it comes to crayons in the office, remember Lee's going to need them on Luminaria. Whether he purchases or not, somebody on his behalf. Make sure we have 17.
Lisa's good about bringing some of that.
As long as we have the crayons and the paper, don't take them all.
I'll try not to bring it from my own devices. I'll probably go first. Thank you. Is there anybody else? No? Nothing? Okay. Thanks. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Mr. Niederberg.
Okay, a couple of things. On everybody's desk, I put a piece of paper. Looks like this. These are the preliminary assignments. You can trade each other whatever for the Luminaria, December 3rd, Campbell D. Coega, I hope. And these are the different jobs, and I guess what people will be happier with what job. Some of them basically are kind of like kind of the way it's always been, because we need to have Rita, who's bilingual, on the Metro gate, so you kind of got that. As far as on the north side of the parking lot is, Eric, obviously, so you can tell people not to park there. Lisa, the Lancashire gate, you get the idea. Okay, the refreshments are done by Barry Johnson and anybody he chooses. The contracts are written by Joanne Deutsch from the committee. The read to young persons on appropriate books for 1847. Thereabout. CC Library has already agreed. Supervised coloring pages. Lee Davis, in care of the Museum of San Francisco Valley, which is the president. Assembly Ladder, Stacy, who's the group leader of the Harvard Weber people, to put the sands in the bags of sand in the bags, put the bags out. I'll be doing the production design and moving things around. Keith will be doing sound. One of the 2 people that are floaters, Mary Mallory, who's already our archivist and our historian, and she's going to be doing for other people also. Art director, Richard Welsh. VIP wrangler, Denise, of course. She has to fight off any elected official who tries to attack us or tries to want to take too much stage time, or any stage time for that. Okay. Okay, stage manager, Alex Bicky, because he did kind of like that stuff last year. We still don't have an MC yet, so unless somebody wants to be an MC, we gotta have, he'll be probably there. Brandon already volunteered to lay out electrical cords, make sure he shows up. Laying out chairs and benches, Heidi and Patrice. The security, Madeline and Greg Retta. Madeline also will be running a selfie group basically.
Richard, I'm going to be doing the cotton candy.
What?
I'm going to be doing cotton candy.
Can I help you?
Cotton candy. Well, not unless Barry approves it, because he's in charge of all the food.
It's not a traditional food at a Luminaria.
New traditions. I voted yes for this event. New traditions.
This is New York.
I'll have red.
I want red and green.
Let's get the crowd out.
Okay, Barry is in charge of what refreshments
Now
are
I'm
going to be
definitely
there,
doing it.
and he will assure us that what's supposed to be there is there. He'll pick who's going to help him out, and he also will hang the banners, which is also important because I can't find them in the office anywhere. And we really need those banners. Plus, we have to also update the 6 other banners for the sides of the compound, Campbell Quink, and also at Laurel and also Laurel and Moore Park. Okay, our Jenny operator, as you probably already know, is Richard Adams. He's already talked to us. Well, he'll deliver them.
I'm busy that day. You better I'll be sick, wouldn't you?
As long as they get on time, get back to
outreach. Now, generators going to outreach.
Okay, but traditionally, you've been the skilled person that makes sure it happens.
Traditionally, and as Craig pointed out, traditions die.
He does have a point.
As far as making sure that nobody kicks over the Luminaria lanterns, we have Claire doing that. Anybody else choose to help her?
Claire, just try to stop me. I'm kicking over.
All they are, the lanterns, they're white bags, we stand on the bottom, and a light there, we make sure the lights don't go out.
All right.
Okay, kick that one. Maintenance, John, you already know about quartermaster of items, most important part is Patrick Lewis.
What?
You know, all you have to do is make sure everything you're supposed to get there, gets there. Everything has to get back, gets back.
I got you.
In other words, a big gap of time in the middle.
Okay.
Okay.
And this year, the sand goes back into storage right after the event.
Yeah. They're already in baggies, but
Yeah,
you know,
they're in
and we
bags.
have lovely pieces of plastic things, plastic bins to put them in.
I have a question, Richard. So the Luminaria is on December 3rd, but we're doing setup the day before, right?
Set up the day before to the extent that we can do that. And that we can get some sort of agreement with Duke Perrin, who has been difficult so far.
Why don't we just do it that day?
Hey, Richard, do you already have a schedule of performers this year, by the way?
Yes. They've been contracted for by Joanne Doig, one of the 2 lawyers in my group basically, and that's being done right now. The other person dealing with that is Mary Mallory, who's gotten other people. It's going to be essentially what it looked like last year. Opening with a big band.
The order should be switched around. That was the #1 complaint I heard from people last year, was that like the charming old-time holiday carol people were there early when no one else was there.
Okay.
And then when everyone's there, you had like a
That's
mariachi.
easy to do. Just give us input. You know, the other thing we have to the thing we have to kind of start out with though is the big band, because they're so big and it takes a while for them to set up the chairs and stands. And take them down. It just takes forever. And it will make Mr. Abissi crazy. He's stage manager, getting these people on and off the stage. Well, the carol is with 4 people, not a problem. I think we're going to have a very similar bell ringers, hand bell ringers that we have with Pep, and we have also flamenco. We have to go get a beautiful brand new piece of plywood, good one inside so it can be tapped on. That's another thing we're dealing with right now.
Is there a way of a faster turnaround between the entertainment acts? It was a little slow last year.
What are you trying to say?
I'd like to do that.
It was a little slow last year.
Fill it in with other stuff.
You try to get a ragtime band off a stage. They gotta carry their own equipment.
If we have any storytellers or historians, please fill up the space. Our event, we're not contracting with anybody. What we're doing, we're doing it ourselves. There's no business association or anybody else involved. What happens on the stage is what we do ourselves. It also gives you a chance to meet the stakeholders and get yourself reelected.
Oh, one more thing, Richard. Can we pay them a larger amount to play for a longer amount of time? So there's fewer bands, so less turnover?
We can...
Maybe that's something to consider.
Well, right now, we might have 4 rather than 5 acts because of economic reasons.
We're reaching out to a storyteller.
A lot of setups, people like that.
Yeah. In any case,
I just we didn't charge pulling everybody off the subway into the event.
For 6 hours.
we did, yes.
If we want people there.
And now we have the escalators to help her out.
You know, I don't understand why everyone is being so condescending.
Because there was problems last year, Lisa.
So we could do it differently this year.
But
Why don't you
he
help
doesn't want
out
to do it
with that?
differently.
We're doing it.
All
Hey, come on.
We voted for it positively. You weren't at that meeting last time. I don't believe you were at the last meeting.
Yeah.
And we voted, we argued about it, we all voted yes, we're moving forward, and now we're constructive criticism. Yeah.
If you're worried about...
There's a little bitterness, yeah.
Come on.
A little bit.
If you're worried about people getting on and off the stage, why don't you have some stagehands to help them move stuff on and off the stage?
Yeah, well, I tried to do that last year and I was
Is anybody good with an antique hook?
By whom?
Harvey Weinstein,
Okay.
the MC. He's not
No. A nice hook to get him off stage.
Could we cut back on me?
Although that starts with others. Anyway, he's stage manager, he's supposed to get him on and off. Okay.
Let's get Harvey Weinstein involved.
You said that we all ignored it the first.
Unsuccessfully.
Please, everybody, do their job or make trade with somebody else. Make sure all the things are covered there. Everything else not here is being done by the Cultural Affairs Committee. You know, this is just the stuff which is the actual board doing. And by board, I also mean committee chairs because there's a lot of overlap there. And I can't think of anything else to say.
But not condescending.
No. Could we consider putting some budget to hiring people to do the manual labor?
That's a good point.
No, do the manual labor.
How are you? It's devastating.
It's very, very hard. And there's going to be people who are sitting here tonight who are not going to be there.
Hard.
And that's...
Who did the bags? Who's done the bags?
Yeah, it's very, very, very hard. So the tables and chairs are hard.
It's not fun.
Okay,
Should we start doing that in November?
No, wait.
$10.
Maybe.
Help us, and I have not gotten the word back from Campbell Hall yet. They're switching it from their middle school to their high school students. I'm not sure what that's about, but if they're trying to get those two basically. I think the Buckley and Oakwood are probably outside Studio City, therefore I'm more reluctant to have the inside Studio City. Please go there, have fun, be dressed properly, do whatever you want to do, but make it fun, please.
Can we just say one thing? Isn't the hardest part the bags?
Yes.
I mean, I mean, the other parts are incredibly fun, but the bags are tough, man.
We've got the kids doing it.
But do we have a specific amount of kids that are going to do it? Are they committed?
Stacy, employee of Harvard Westlake, promised 10.
She got 2 last year, I remember.
Yeah, she only brought like 2 for like 10 minutes.
That's
Yeah,
because
we're
keep
gonna go
voting.
against their project.
I mean, poor Richard, he was dying now.
I sacrificed for the team, for the good of all.
Yeah, I just want to point out that it's probably inappropriate for this council to ask Harvard Westlake for people, not only because we've been weighing in on a project they want.
It is probably inappropriate.
Because you will probably have to weigh in on it again, and it would be the appearances of conflicts of interest. So counting on them and even asking them strikes me as somewhat inappropriate. And I don't know how you would say this is a fun event when there's no alcohol allowed.
Well, sorry
You
about
always
that.
pack it last.
I'm not saying no alcohol, somebody else is. Yes,
I know that we're not within Studio City, we're in North Hollywood, but I could try to get some of my other fellow
I'd rather work with a
teams
school
to
that isn't involved in a subject.
Yeah.
What school?
I agree.
Yeah, I think it should be, I mean, public high school seems way better than going to.
we have kids who really need community service hours, so.
What do we start now with getting these kids now?
I think that's a great idea.
It's not Studio City, but sure, there's all
Come
the help I can get.
The kids who live here go to that high school, so what's the deal?
Yeah, I live here. I went there.
They go to Bowl there, and it doesn't make, they need to get into college.
But as an entity, it's a little bit wonky.
You wanna?
I'll try.
A little wonky.
Okay.
We got 2 months to get them going.
Yeah.
Okay.
And should there be any pizza or other refreshments or not, there needs to be sole arbitration as to whether there's any pizza that I even like or other refreshments. It's up to her.
I will do my best to get for last year. I was only gonna get like for the.
I think we've beaten this one down.
Yeah.
You wanna give us a quick bank report?
Okay, I'll try to turn a 4-hour meeting into 40 seconds.
There you go.
You know, you already heard the big news that it is our re-election, or not, is in 2019, not 2018. The same water parts that we heard last time, they're still talking about, and it was over a 4-hour meeting, and I made it through it, but it was a hassle. And that's basically it when it comes to the bank. Except that next month, nice party, or what looks like a party, at Carlin's Cafe, 2 buildings down from here, 3 buildings down. You know, you always have your parking pass, all you have to do is pull up the residential street and walk in, and hopefully we'll have the front and center table. Hopefully somebody can help you.
Get there early.
Yeah.
And that one has booze, right? That one has alcohol.
Yeah, they
And we need to get,
Oh, yeah?
we need somehow to get the banners up.
But it's cash and carry.
I'll pay for it.
It's fun. Anyway, I want to be at the front and center table, as we always are. We are all the other 34 neighborhood councils from the valley. We're at our place, therefore we should be on good behavior. Well, at least, maybe not a good behavior, at least have closed parking.
There you go.
That's on the 9th, correct? November 9th?
Yes, Thursday.
Yes.
I screwed it up, sorry.
And Mr. Rado.
Great.
Yeah, the Footbridge neighborhood, they held a very strong community watch meeting. It was attended by nearly 100 people. Officer Smith spoke. I talked to the attendees about the Studio City Neighborhood Council and the Public Safety Committee. And I shared with them that the focus of the Public Safety Committee for us will be attaining more officers for North Hollywood Police Department. That's where I want to focus my my attention.
Which footbridge?
Footbridge neighborhood, behind
The Valley Heart North.
Okay.
yeah. They had a meeting on Whitsett. So coincidentally, that young lady Jennifer Vasquez contacted us, and I had a nice conversation with her earlier this week, and she is on the police commission, and she really understood what we're trying to do and feels that she could help us get greater attention for the valley, up through the police ranks to hopefully get more police patrol and support. So she'll be attending the meeting on Thursday. We'll be mapping out a plan and focusing on that area. And then Saturday will be the Emergency Preparedness Summit at the Church of Scientology.
Yeah, I heard about that.
I'm getting a lot of emails about the fact that people won't go because of where it is.
Yeah, I think, if you remember, Patty Kirby was here and wanted to see if we could do something at CBS. We weren't able to, and she probably found a place with parking spots. And but we'll have I'll be there. And I'm not going to give out a tremendous amount of stuff because I can't imagine it's going to be too many Studio City residents. It's going to be the entire valley. But I'm thinking a pen if you live in the valley, a first aid kit if you live in Studio City.
And an audit, and a free audit.
Yeah, right. Oh, one more thing is that remember we have 2 movies left in our October movie series, one next Monday, and the following on Halloween, we're going to give away little flasher goodies and playing the Blob. Again, CUC Library, 5:30 p.m. Park, come in, enjoy the Blob, get your flasher or not, and have fun.
Mary's presentation on the history of Studio City was very informative and very well attended. So congrats to the Cultural Affairs Committee, including Andrew Sussman.
And there was no budget.
Yeah, it was good. She was very good.
Isn't Republic Pictures 80th anniversary next year? Because they did a big 75th. I missed it. That would have been great. Right here.
Should have been on the board.
Right?
It was 105 here that day.
Really?
I was working in this room and the air conditioning froze up. I was smarter than myself.
So just FYI, yesterday in front of my house were 2 police cars and the health department. We thought maybe they had found somebody in the wash that didn't make it. But, so what they're doing is the health department, the police are helping the health department scour our neighborhoods and the river looking for the homeless people. And once they identify where they are, they're trying to set up, have nurses go down there to administer these shots. So that's what they're doing. That was surprising. And the other thing, Sean said that he would like to come to our meeting next month, but he cannot wait like 2 hours. He needs to be put on the beginning of the agenda, so he requested that he be put on the agenda.
The time that he came, I think he was confused. He thought he was, we were all confused why he was here.
It was a special meeting, we had a lot of early stuff, but he just can't do it.
No, I mean, he can go on early like with Jessica.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's he just requested.
That's okay, but I just have to know to put him on the agenda.
Well, I'm just saying.
Okay, all right.
I know what you're
I make a motion to adjourn.
Great. Yes.
Damn.
Second.